大家好吗？你们大家好。哦，我应该坐哪里呢？我坐这边。嗨，大家好不？哦，哎，好不？哎，It's nice to see all of you. 我已经很久没来台湾了，所以很开心来这里。So we'll have the rest of the panel in Mandarin and in 台语。
好，很好，我知道。
好不好？好不好？Okay, so I think we have 30 minutes and we are on the clock. So we'll get started. I think the clock has already started. So I just really want to thank our moderator, our MC, for giving a brief introduction to our very esteemed panelists. They need no introduction, but I feel like I need to talk a little bit more about them. Obviously, Sebastian is also the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance, and he obviously runs the sandbox, so please go and chat with him later on. And Zaf here is an advocate of Web3 development and adoption. She is the former director of digital strategy and partnerships at Animoca, but today she is here with us as the chief commercial officer of Artifact Labs, where she leads collaborations with arts and cultural institutions. So I'm just going to jump right in and just let me give a quick preamble. I think we're all critical lovers in that we are all converts and we are advocates of the open metaverse, but we can also be loving critics and step outside ourselves to have very objective discussions. And so that's what we aim to do in the next 29 minutes. I'm also incredibly mindful that we have a very diverse crowd here, from students, maybe crypto, blockchain, gaming enthusiasts, and even professionals, entrepreneurs, metaverse advocates, detractors. So we want to be able to have questions to answer all your queries. And we will also have a lightning round at the end. I'll surprise our guests. They have no idea what the questions are, so we'll make it a little bit fun. So to start, I'm just going to open up the floor to both our esteemed panelists. So we'll get started. So both of you are very keen on building arts, culture, and communities on the metaverse. So in real terms, just how do you go about doing that?
All right, I'll get started. So, well, how do we go to do that? We're building a platform that's essentially meant to empower anyone to become a creator. And what that means is that when we mean anyone, we really mean anyone, without any kind of barrier to entry. And that's why all the tools that are part of the Sandbox platform are no code. And also we chose this aesthetic that is voxels. Voxel is almost like digital Lego. So you can start using it even without reading the user manual. Like just put the bricks together, the blocks together, you can just paint over. And yet it is very powerful and versatile art form that can range from like the simplest representation, think of it like Lego Duplo for kids, to the most advanced representation, think of it like art, bricks art in museum and so on. And that has led to drive a very creative force within like our community since we started Sandbox in 2000, the blockchain-based version of Sandbox in 2018, to like bring to life their imagination. It brought like new creators, people who never made video games before, people who never made any kind of software actually, were not even in the space of technology before.
Yeah, and me included.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's been very enriching as well for our platform to see ourselves progressively moving just from being like a gaming and an entertainment platform that bring music, fashion, sport, culture, media, toward like encompassing much wider areas of culture like, I don't know, tourism, folklore, heritage, tradition, food, and many other exciting things that like we've seen happen on our platform. And at that point of time, when we saw like users leverage the tools in that way, we say like, that's the direction we need to go. We need to accelerate in that direction. Because if the users think that way, that's something that we should double on.
Yeah. Actually, now you talk about food, I'm super hungry, but we need to move on to Zaf. So how do you propose to bring arts, culture, and all of this onto, the open metaverse?
So at Artifact Labs, we work with cultural institutions like museums, galleries, artist estates, or even media company, and we help them to onboard all the arts and cultural assets onto the blockchain. One for preservation, second for IP licensing. I mean, it sounds a little bit strange, but all of you know that like museums, it has like a defined physical space that has limitation. So at any point of the time, you're only seeing 5% of their collection. And 95% is just sitting in the archives, in a storage room, doing nothing. And people have no access to it. So we actually help them to onboard everything. And Metaverse is a space that make everything possible. And with digital world, no limitation of space and like the size of the arts and everything. So we can bring the arts into the digital world with more exposure to public, and we help them with the IP licensing part, which a lot of artists, they cannot take care of themselves. And because of AI, a lot of photos being stolen, like creating derivative works and all that. So we help them to protect their rights as well. And we hope that they can attract more people to put their work in the digital space, and it will actually help the metaverse to go to the next step, helping the actual artists, helping museums to flourish, and helping more people to see the museum art world in the digital world.
You know, I haven't sat in a single panel for the last 9 months where the two letters AI have not been raised, so we will get to that in a while. But in the meantime, let's just address the pink elephant in the room, right? We hear everything from the metaverse is dead to probably this morning, Yacht's probably expressing really strong optimism about impressive NFT sales totaling close to $1 billion. And then, you know, the Feds has actually just announced that it will be reducing rates. So, you know, both of you on the front line, what are your sentiments on, you know, the metaverse in 2024?
So it's very positive, to in a nutshell. Like, we feel like 2024 will be like the years of the creators. Like, we're at stepping stone, specifically at Sandbox, now that we've released all of our product update, that we opened the platform for anyone to publish, that we just launched the marketplace for anyone to start minting and selling their content, that it will drive an acceleration of like more creator, both from the user-generated content side, from like our ecosystem as well that's been growing. And why we're confident about that? Because we look at 2023, that's year that everyone in the media thought as like the year where the metaverse was dead and nothing happening, no players, no content. And then I look at all the announcement, all the partnership, all the content we launched, all the events we did, all the people we met and we empowered, and like that really doesn't resonate right. Like, we've grown to 5 million users, that's 20% year-on-year increase. We've grown our ecosystem to 800 partners around the world, that's 10% increase. And we developed new region of the world, like this year we opened Turkey, Thailand, Singapore, and Lion City. I just came back from India where we announced Bharatverse and we brought 25 new partners.
Nice.
Every single week there's major brands that launch, like not just announce, but really launch their metaverse experience in Sandbox. And some of those brands, they don't just do it once, they do 2 times, 3 times. I was playing this morning, Charles and Keith. They launched 3 times the experience. Gucci, they launched 2 times. Warner Music, the same. Ubisoft launched Captain 0 on Sandbox. So it's amazing to see like things are happening. You just have to really look, not just read the titles, but get a bit deeper, create an avatar, start exploring. And it's all aligned like to that like narrative. And well, I think 2024 will be like definitely active. I'm sure like people will start to create more and more, and will drive more and more creation as well through various incentives. We just announced a new game maker fund of 100 million cents that will support the creators who publish on their land. We are aligning various game jams. So game jams are like competition where people can contribute like creating content, and the winner will receive prize, but also will be featured on the land from their top brands. So imagine being featured on the land of Warner Music, of Snoop Dogg, of Steve Aoki, or Paris Hilton, of your favorite fashion brand, or even the museum land, and so on. I think that's quite fresh, and I will keep bringing more and more people in this space.
Yeah, so you folks know if you want to be featured in, you know, all these lands, definitely come participate in Game Jam. So Zeph, what else are you doing?
I'm actually thinking 2024 will be a year that we may have a new definition of metaverse, and I
like that. Tell us more about that. What's a new definition?
I bet on the potential and the high hope for XR. I mean, like I actually wasn't really pro VR before, but I've tried it on some of the recent technology and all that, and I think the XR world is gonna be more developed next year. And with the Apple Vision Pro, I think the cultural content consumption may be different, like how you like see art in a sense. For example, you have to walk into the museum before, but with Apple Vision Pro, maybe you can consume the arts and cultural content at home. And also, like seeing an art, you're not just looking at the 2D painting, but maybe you can be able to walk into a painting. So I think the definition of metaverse may be a little bit blurry. And also, I think in the previous like metaverse cycle, a lot of people may think that there's a gap between physical world and the digital world, and reality is a little bit like the reality gap is a little bit big, and they don't really feel that interactive in the past cycle. But I think in the next metaverse cycle, it will be much more interactive, and you actually feel like you're in the digital space. So that's why I think the physical and the digital world will be a little bit blurry there.
Go
I'll
ahead.
just
Yeah.
react to that.
Sure,
I
of
will
course.
not wait for like Apple Vision Pro and XR to be there. It's already happening somehow in Sandbox. We've announced like a museum, like the British Museum is building, but other like the National Palace
Sure.
Museum here in Taiwan that launched a very interactive, immersive experience. We had a 360 gallery that lets you play within some of the most popular art pieces like the Mona Lisa or Van Gogh, etc.
Yeah.
That was quite fun, and definitely I think it's going to bring new audiences. Maybe those one that I kind of lost the taste of going to museum to discover art for the first time, and hopefully bridge that gap that you're mentioning.
You're definitely not just the CEO, you're also like the chief marketing officer and mascot. It's like at every chance, it's like, don't do the Vision Pro, it's already here with the Sandbox. But, okay, but I just,
Well, it's an exaggeration.
totally. So now I just want to change tracks a little bit and a more philosophical question, because I'm a philosophy major. So Peter Thiel, he once infamously declared that crypto is libertarian and AI is communist. So of course, what we really know what he means is that in broad brushstrokes, that cryptocurrencies are typically open source, whereas AI relies on big data and get it by big entities, right? So Google is able to amass a lot of data and obviously be a pioneer in AI because it's amassed a lot of data over the years. So I'm going to start with Zeph. How do we suture these seemingly opposing ideologies between something that's very open source and libertarian and something that's AI and very sort of big data centric and big entity centric? So where's your metaverse in all of this?
Well, I mean, for us, we provide, I don't want to say a platform, but we provide space for artists, for museums to put their arts onto us, and then we can help them to do IP licensing, facilitating the arts being consumed by other people. So I would say the metaverse, or just like the idea of a virtual space for people to have consumption of content, is a mix of both. So they can have liberty to provide whatever content they own, and they can make like their economies like based on the content they have. So we're just a facilitator, and I think people can be benefited by the technology itself.
So you're not going to become like a big data shark and come and like take all our identity.
No, instead, I think we can actually help the artists to protect their rights,
Right,
as I
of
mentioned
course.
earlier.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of tools out there that we're integrating. We can help the artists to see if there's any work that like violating their rights and using their work to produce other work without providing the loyalty to them and all that. So I think we're actually helping them to protect their rights too.
And just a follow-up question, will AI co-pilots be helping you folks at all in what you're doing?
Yeah, sorry, yes. So the AI part will be coming in for like the scouting, policing the internet, like of the violating use of IP rights.
Okay, then I'll pose an IP question to you later on. What about you, Sebastian?
Well, I don't think like the two are antithesis.
Of course.
Like definitely like crypto, and in a more broader manner, like the idea of decentralization and ownership of your digital asset is more like the concept of like putting back the power of the ownership of the data back into the users, who are like the main producer of that data most of the time, and like make sure that they have like more decision power of like where that data can be used and how it can be used, rather than like leave it back to the platform to decide on their behalf and sometimes against their will or without them knowing like how it's going to be utilized for like monetizing, advertising, and other like business model as well. And that's really where Web3 is like disrupting Web2. And that led to many use cases, not only, of course, in blockchain, gaming, and so on, but beyond. For me, AI, like it's a very powerful technology that is going to support a lot of creators. Like you just have to learn how to use those tools. It will facilitate content creation. It will bring creation and creativity to billions of people instead of just millions of people right now, because you don't even need to know how to use a 3D software or a computer. You just like pronounce some text and everything comes out of magic. But the underlying issue is like how the LLMs are being built, etc. Like they are like just scrapping a lot of data. You don't really know where or how, and it doesn't really pay attention of what's the ownership of that data. So we've seen already like cases where like some the generative content that's been produced comes from Shutterstock images or like platform where like those are indeed copyrighted work. And I think that blockchain indeed will help to actually better identify the ownership, the authorship, who is the original creator and who has the IP rights behind those content, and how eventually those content can be utilized or not for AI generation. And so far, I believe like the laws in the US and other jurisdictions has proven that any work that's the production of an AI, actually not a human, is not copyrightable. It implies it's part of like public domain.
Can I add on to that?
Of course you can.
Yeah, so I mean, to Sap's point, I think it's like absolutely right. And for blockchain to help proving the rights and proving the ownership of the copyrights, I'm not sure if you know that there's a museum in Taiwan earlier this year being hacked, and all the digital library actually being stolen and sold on Taobao for like $1 each. All the high resolution image is gone, and
Wow.
they don't really have a way to prove that they own the original files. And what we're doing and what drives us to help museums is that they are like part of the latest industry to be on a digital journey. So we help them to put their art onto the blockchain so that they can prove the provenance, they can prove the ownership. So whatever assets being used on the internet, they can trace back and say that, hey, we actually own this. So I think like to Sep's point, it totally makes sense. And maybe also related to AI, but British Library actually, British Museum, they have the physical artifacts being stolen because they don't have a record of the artifacts they actually own.
They also stole a lot from a lot of the rest of the world, so
that's
it's payback
true.
time.
That's true. But people can actually just like easily, like staff can go onto the computer and delete some record. This is like really taunting, right? So I think having blockchain as a way to prove provenance ownership is just the way it should go.
So on that follow-up question then, because we're talking a lot about ownership and authorship, but we also know that the open metaverse is meant to be transparent and permissionless and interoperable and composable. And these seem to be antithetical to what we know in like the capitalist models, right? Where you need competition in order to thrive. So where do you both see this sort of interplay between collaboration and competition? And more specifically, for both of you running your companies, I mean, you're obviously going to be very commercially minded. How do you make decisions as key stakeholders of your company, right? Is it community first? Is it culture first? Is it commercial first? Like, how do you even decide?
Well, wait, pause a minute. There's a lot of words, complex words. I don't know if the audience understood a little bit the difference between like composability, interoperability, and so on.
Let's break it down.
We'll try. So first, interoperability is the idea like an asset, a digital asset that has been created on a certain platform can be used in any other platform automatically or through some transformation framework, but still like you can use your content across different platforms.
Right.
Composability is like the ability for external developer, application, etc., to layer different solutions all together to produce a different outcome that was originally proved, and that allows the growth of ecosystem, new application, etc., to be built upon. I think that really that's the strength of Web3, like being able to leverage both of those elements, the open metaverse as well, and we should totally embrace that concept. And that's what we do at Sandbox. Like we believe like the ethos and the culture is like we will succeed together and there is a really strong network effect toward like allowing application to be built in a composable way, allowing the data, such as the land, such as the avatar, such as the asset being made, not only to exist in Sandbox, but potentially to be used anywhere else for other purposes, maybe for like ticketing, for accessing, etc. We also believe that we should not just talk about it, not just preach about it, but we should lead by example. That's something we've done at Sandbox. We support more than 50 collections of NFTs that were like just digital assets on a blockchain. Most of the time they were images, sometimes videos, and to support them, to show like if you own that asset that was minted on Ethereum, on Polygon, or even on Cardano, on other blockchain, you're able to use them in another form in Sandbox. And that other form, the most accessible and simple way to have fun and to play in the metaverse is an avatar. Like everybody understands creating a character and using that character to start exploring around, and that character becoming your digital identity, having expression, having a custom like outfit, wearable, and also custom abilities in game, or like even dance, animation, emotes, etc. And so we made them interpretable in Sandbox, so like it benefits Sandbox by bringing new users, but it also, more importantly, benefit each one of those collections, because suddenly those tokens have much more utility. And so they engage their community to play, to discover new things, maybe to build new world on the platform thanks to the no-code tools. And I think that's the kind of way we want to build this ecosystem and the ethos we want to adopt.
Yeah. And you're very cute as an elephant. I saw you as an elephant avatar. That's super cute, like hopping around. Zeph.
Yeah, we share the same philosophy that we help facilitating interoperability across different institutions. So like in traditional world, when you create a collection or create an exhibition, you can only reach out to like a single entity, and you cannot actually have cross-platform or cross-institutions collections exhibitions. So we actually have like the whole thing joining as a single source like platform. Again, I don't like to call it a platform. I'm trying to find a better word, but like we facilitate people to be able to find, for example, if I want to create a Metaverse experience, you can choose data or content from our platform across different continent, across different museums, across different galleries, as long as the artists or the museums agrees to do so. So you can maybe create an experience of such in the Sandbox environment using the content from our site. So this is like how we envision the interoperability would work for real world art.
And so on that note, then I'll move to individual questions for both of you, because I'm watching time. So for you, Sebastian, I think you just had a creators meetup yesterday, and so you clearly have moved from a real emphasis on players to creators. What's the thought process? I mean, you've sort of mentioned that already, but then you can also articulate then your plans for 2024 and then the movement between players to creators.
You always think like in terms of like user-generated content platform, there's this chicken and egg problem. Like, who will come first? Like, bring a lot of players so that more creators are interested, or bring more creators? What we've seen so far, and that history repeating itself, like both what we built at Sandbox on mobile back in 2011, but also platforms like Twitch, like YouTube, Minecraft, in a way is like focus on the creators and the creators only at the beginning. And like from that moment, once you have a lot of content, fresh content, new form of like gaming, new form of entertainment that maybe haven't been seen before, like players will follow. Like good content will always emerge, good surprise will always come, but you have to keep supporting those creators with the right tools, like meaning like empowering them to do new things all the time. And that's what we've been focused in 2023. We spent a whole year to build this new version of the Game Makers that we first introduced in Hong Kong at our first Global Creator Day, where 1,000 people attended. And then yesterday here in Taiwan, and now we replicate that in every country we have presence to educate about this tool, inspire people, support them with the game jam and the rewards and the prizes. And hopefully we'll see exciting content, new talented, like when you look at, for example, TikTok, Instagram, it's not the same creator who are popular. Like it's not the same top YouTubers with the same top creator on TikTok. We feel on Sandbox will be the same, like new top talent will emerge and we have to nurture them.
And they're right here, right? You're all going to be right
hopefully,
here.
Hopefully, yes. Look at you.
Look
like
at
maybe
all of you.
one of you will be a top creator in this room.
For sure.
And hopefully more than one.
I have hopes on all of you. And so, just one final question for you before I move on to grill Saf. So, so we know that play to earn has now become play and earn, right? So is this where you see the sandbox morphing into a socially immersive platform and network? And is this going to be viable given that if this is a place where I earn money, is it going to be looking more and more like a workplace? I mean, we don't typically think of your workplace as like a fun place, right? So do you think this is even viable?
I think we are still in the early days of like what blockchain gaming is and like the metaverse and the way like people will be driven into it. What excites me is we're seeing like a fast iteration process. Like 2 years ago, like play to earn and all the variant of it was like the go-to model. But quickly people figured as well like it was a zero-sum game, and somehow like it would become limited once the reward deplete themselves and there's no one else funding them. At Sandbox, we've put a lot of emphasis on not just like have a play to earn, but have more like really a reward that's based on like the skill, the involvement, the time spent, and like rewarding the time you spend, the quest you complete. And that's been driven to a much higher quality of engagement than what we've seen in other platforms. That's been also pushing a model where there's been not just ourselves funding the reward, but the partners themselves who like give like various form of like tokens, but also physical goods and so on as well. And it's contributing to define a new model. And we're seeing things like guilds are now evolving to become like quest-oriented platform, little bit like the model that Sandbox has been adopted for 2 years already.
And now I'll just move on to Seth because I'm watching my time. I'm going to be cracking the whip. So, Artifact Labs, I mean, we just had a conversation at the back of the room, was actually spun out of South China Morning Post, right? And its vision initially was to elevate thought. And you're the chief commercial officer guiding the company's commercial strategy and revenue generation. So how do you suture thought? How do you generate revenue? How do you preserve culture? These are all big buzzwords, but in real terms, what do all of these mean?
Yeah, so I think all these words can come together. They're not like contradictory, and I think they can all go together if we think from the angle of protecting the rights. And I think like the thesis is that we help them to protect the rights, proving the provenance, as I said before, but also we help them to create or add in more demand. So we're trying to collaborate with different companies. For example, I'm not going to name drop right now, but
name drop, go ahead. No.
It's confidential still.
I know, teasing.
You can imagine putting the museum arts that you like on the back of the case of a cell phone. You can imagine putting the art you like, museum-grade art, into your living room through a TV screen. So this is like some kind of cultural consumption. It's not really creating something, but for more people to be able to appreciate arts, to consume arts in this way. So I think we are trying to do something that is different, and you can imagine us like something like Getty Image, but on blockchain for museums-grade art, or you can imagine us as like Spotify for people to consume not music but art, and you can create your own playlist. You can create, as I mentioned earlier, about the interoperability.
Right.
So if you want to curate an exhibition for women in red dress, for example, you can see all the museums for different centuries, women in a red dress. Maybe you will create something interesting. So this is the way I think the ongoing cultural consumption would be.
Yeah, so really just providing equity and democratization, right? So it's not just rich, wealthy, white males who can put art in their living rooms, but now everyone can put it on their t-shirt as well.
Yep.
But you also said, and I quote, that you see huge potential and value in preserving cultural and historical assets immutably on the blockchain. And these days, I mean, it's also becoming, to your point, as ubiquitous, brand assets, right? So how do you suture value, and how does this specifically relate to Artifact, and as well as your work in IP licensing?
So imagine if you want to put a Mona Lisa onto a T-shirt, onto a book to sell, you have to contact the Louvre and you like maybe fill in a Google form or send them an email. And normally it takes 4 to 6 weeks for them to answer your question.
If even.
Whether, if you can use it or not. And with Artifact Labs, you can actually choose whatever you want, however you want to consume it. Maybe it's for publication, maybe it's for commercial use. And then the museum will receive the request, and all the thing can be down to minutes. And everything is like powered by smart contract, so you have a trace of what assets being used. If you're the artist who provide, you're a live artist who provide the art to the museum, you can see how many times your art is actually being used in what countries, for what purposes, so you have a better understanding of your audience as well. So this is how we try to link up all the the institutions, the artists, and consumers together.
I love it. Speaking of minutes, we're going to go down to the wire in like 60 seconds. I'm going to do like lightning round, okay? So quickly, favorite thing to do in Taipei? Let's go, Seth. Favorite thing to do in Taipei? Go.
Go to night market.
Okay. Yes, shit.
Eat beef noodles?
Least favorite thing to do? Seb.
Nothing so far?
Nothing so far.
They're so politically correct.
The traffic.
Favorite role model? Seth. Go. And then Seb.
Sap.
Wow. So much love in this room.
Bill Gates?
Okay. Favorite source or best source of information? Most reliable, best source of information, or just Twitter all day? What do you do? Yeah, they don't even read the news anymore.
ChatGPT was good, but nowadays it's a little bit dumb. I don't know why. I think they're changing the data behind, but yeah, recently it's dumb.
Seb.
Depends. Twitter for like a web-free thing, and then Time magazine for like more like global world information.
Okay, highlights of 2023, Seb. Go. Highlights, best highlight.
Our Creator Day
Okay.
in Hong Kong.
Highlight 2023. One.
Actually launching the product of Artifact Labs.
I love it. They're just so loyal to their brand. It's like, okay, low light of 2023, Seb.
The Metaverse is not dead.
Seth, low light 2023.
Not getting enough Bitcoin and Ethereum now.
Okay, resolutions for 2024, Seth.
Getting more museums.
Love it, Seth.
Getting more museums, but also more music artists, more brands,
Getting more all of them.
A lot of creators, Sandbox being open, Sandbox going to mobile, a lot of resolution.
Okay, finally, what is the one thing you want all of us to remember this moment by, Seb? Or this moment, this year, this you by, Seb? What do you want to be remembered by? Let's go.
Wow. This right moment
This
here,
moment?
like, you had fun, you heard that guy talk about like the diversity of culture, all the cool stuff happening, and inviting me to create in Sandbox. Why didn't I do that?
Okay. Seb.
Whatever you think of, you have museums or like artists that you want to help, contact me.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this is a moment that you will remember. Thank you so much. We're so excited to share this moment with you. And please give it up for Sebastian Bourget and Seth Chow.
And Loretta Chen, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. 感谢大家，谢谢你们，谢谢，多谢多谢，感谢。